Hello, David Zritsky for the Bond Experience. Welcome back. So as I post this video, it is my birthday. I'm 56 years old. And the only reason I bring that up is that my wife had come to me a few weeks ago and said, listen, what would you like to do for your birthday? We got to talk about what to do for your birthday. Do we go on a trip somewhere, get away from the cold? Do we have a nice meal out? Or do you get yourself something nice, probably something Bond? And I said yes to all three because you should have never given me the choice, hon. But that being said, this video is about the third one, the thing that I wanted to get that's Bond. And every now and then I'll treat myself, and here it is. The acquisition of the Omega Seamaster Aqua Terra from SKYFALL. I know. Crazy. This has been a long time in coming. SKYFALL is a 2012 film, but I had to talk about the acquisition of this. Now, typically when I do these type of things, I have an unboxing, I yap about the story, and then 6 or 7 minutes in, you're like, David, will you show the watch? So that's why I wanted to show you the watch within like the first few minutes, right? You know, just, this is about a watch, so you want to see the watch, and here it is in all its glory. Now, we're going to talk about the watch itself. Before I do that, I've got to talk about influence. Now, it's not influencer marketing. It's not about influencers. It's the influence that people have on us and things have on us and movies have on us to make us want to purchase these types of beautiful pieces of artwork. And I truly do believe, to me, this is like artwork. You can see now that unbelievable blue. And we're going to talk about the details in a second, don't you worry, but a little storytelling time first, of course. Now, when I was first introduced to this watch, I knew about it back in SKYFALL, went to the premiere, 2 watches, didn't pay a lot of mind to it. I was always into the Casino Royale Planet Ocean watch so much, and I knew that there was a Planet Ocean in the film, and I sort of knew about this. But then my friends started to tell me about this. Friends like Lorenzo, Omega Bond watches. You know him very well. And he said, David, but have you really paid attention to this watch? And I said, well, maybe I'd like to get one. I don't know. He introduced me to somebody, and I sort of went, yeah, it's not a priority right now for a lot of different reasons, again, which we will talk about. But then something happened. Now, as I was heading to my birthday, I had always liked the movie SKYFALL. I mean, it's hard to argue that it is one of the great Bond films, especially of the Daniel Craig era. You know, there's Casino Royale, SKYFALL, and then people kind of trickle down from there as far as their favorite Daniel Craig. But it's hard to argue against SKYFALL. So I've always had a connection to the movie. But to the watch, not so much. But it started to grow on me. The elegance of it, the look, the sleekness. And then I saw it on this man's wrist right here. This is Kyle Barbeau of Easy Smile and Beautiful Watches. And he's a contributor to my channel, to many of the channels. And he had it on for the Golden Bullet Awards. The Golden Bullet Awards are awards that thousands of people voted on for different favorite content creations and topics and things like that. But for the inaugural night of giving out the Golden Bullets, he had this on, and I fell in love with it. Even the size, I just fell in love with everything. And then from that end on, I knew that the influence of both the movie, getting a Bond piece, my friends and connections in the Bond community, it had to spur this on. All right. After that night, I was a bit obsessed, if I'm being honest with you, as we all do sometimes with these type of things. And I started to research this. And I got in touch with Lorenzo again and said, hey, isn't there a guy out there who has one of these that he's worn it like 6 times, not crazy about the size and wants to get rid of it? I need to have the right one, has to have the right date, position, has to be from the right date itself. I want the SKYFALL watch, not the Spectre one that looks like it but bigger. I want the SKYFALL one. He goes, I think he does. And he introduced me to a new friend of mine, David Gordon. Now, this is kind of a fascinating story because if you remember back to my acquisition, oh, look what he did. David, you and your props and your preparation. I happen to have my Quantum of Solace Omega watch right here. Now, this is the 42 millimeter. and this is 38.5. You can see the size difference. We're going to talk about that in a second, but this is kind of an important correlation because I've always been of the mind that I needed to have a rough and tumble Bond watch, maybe because of the Daniel Craig aspect. I needed to have something that looked like a sport watch that could go into the heart of adventure and diving and be used as a knuckle duster. Yeah, that's my incredible sound effects. Nobody's hiring me for Foley artistry. But an elegant watch from a more elegant time to be worn with tuxedos and suits. I always thought, you know what, dang nabbit, I can always wear a sports watch because Bond always wears a sports watch. But we really get down to it, even going back to the Connery era, having a more elegant watch like this, something a little bit more sleek, is really the call of the day as far as wearing it with suits and certainly with my SKYFALL Tom Ford tuxedo. And suddenly I saw the correlation. Not only did I want something very unique and different, because God love Danielle, she's like, do you need another one? Doesn't it look just like it? And I'm like, honey, it's like 2.5 millimeters different. Can't you see the difference? It wears differently, as Lorenzo's voice echoes in my mind. But really, the win in this, the joy of this, wasn't just the difference between the two. It wasn't just the acquisition of these two watches. It was the fact that I was getting these watches from members of the Bond community. They had already started their own story. I actually bought this watch from somebody in the Bond community that just didn't wear it that often. They fell in love with other parts of their watch collection. And this was the same thing with David Gordon. He fell in love with other parts of his watch collection. He still loves watches. But he thought, you know something, if somebody is going to wear this a lot, why don't I give them the opportunity? So I purchased it from somebody in the Bond community. How cool is that? Keeping it in the Bond community, passing on. We always say that we borrow these things, whether they're heirloom pieces or we're purchasing from somebody within the Bond community or the gray market, but we're really borrowing these artifacts of preciousness. That's what these are. These are artifacts. So just like artifacts you pass from museum to museum, this is now going to be in my collection. All right. When we're talking about a watch acquisition or even appreciation, or why it took this to be sort of a slow grower in my world, I've got to talk about why. The why behind it connects with me, especially now. We talked about the fact that I've got an incredible affinity with SKYFALL, but we also have to talk about the absolutely crazy, I'll even say badass moments that it appears in SKYFALL. In fact, you see this watch starting when Bond comes back from enjoying death. He's going to see Mallory. He's going to go back and meet M. He's back in the new MI6 digs. He even has this one shot, which I love when I went back and rewatched this because of the watch, where he checks his watch, which means, and again, this is how we fill in the gaps of storytelling. Either it was given to him by Q Branch, or he went out and bought it, or he had an old watch sitting around. I don't know. I'd like to think that he actually went to Omega after he left M's apartment and purchased the watch. This is what we do with our brains, right? So he has this watch now, and you see it so well in the whole discussions with Mallory. You see some hero shots when he's talking about Jack, the bulldog, being blown up. You see it talking to Tanner. You see it in all these types of areas, but then I didn't notice this at all until I received this watch. But of course, I had to go back and watch the scenes with the watch to be like, oh, it's like almost like seeing a friend in a movie. It's like, oh, there he is, there he is, there he is. So I went back and I did this, and I know you do this type of research and investigation when you get a watch or when you're going to get a watch to see how much does it really play into the story. And I'm here to tell you folks, it's about an 80% of the movie. There are some amazing shots, like in the floating casino, the Dragon Casino, where you see the watch when he's talking to Severine, but also when he's in the Komodo dragon fight. You see the watch, and the reason you could tell it's the watch is not just because of this amazing blue face, which is so identifiable when lights hit it, but also this amazing bracelet that you see that is just, again, it's sleek, It's identifiable, but it's still rough and tumble. It still represents James Bond. And of course, that blue, like in Daniel Craig's eyes, it pops extremely, extremely well. But some of the things that, if you really want to go back and go, David, I'd like to research this watch myself. Go back and watch when Bond meets Silva for the very first time. And he puts on his sunglasses when he goes outside, especially in daylight. This watch absolutely shines bright like a diamond, shines bright like a, no, it just glows in the daytime, which sounds strange because it doesn't have a lume, David. But yes, it's the face. It's this amazing face that picks up light and reflection. And that's why you could see it so well in that scene, that amazing now classic scene when Bond goes outside, plays the game of, it's a waste of a good scotch type thing. You can see this watch so well. And that leads me to a discussion I need to have with you. And it's a marketing discussion because I'm a marketer. This is kind of a channel all about branding and marketing and Bond brands and style. And we've got to talk about this watch back in 2012. When this watch came out, it was aligned, of course, with a Planet Ocean. And the Planet Ocean, which, let me show a picture here. This Planet Ocean was the focus. It was the focus of all the ads, all the campaigns. Even now, when you go to the website and you take a look at SKYFALL, all the pictures of Bond wearing a watch from that movie are the Planet Ocean. It's not the Aqua Terra. And yet the Aqua Terra, to me, is more unique and identifiable than basically another version of the Quantum of Solace or the Casino Royale. It's that next revolution or evolution. Come on, David. You're not going to edit that, are you? No, that's not how we do it. Evolution of Bond's sport watch. But this is something unique now. This is a Daniel Craig moment that really reeks of elegance, of yachting and boating and sophistication, and making him a little bit more of a complicated character. So my marketing discussion is why? I'm wondering why Omega, and listen, love me the Omega people, but I'm wondering why they chose to market that watch as opposed to this watch, because this watch to me would be more of a standout. To me, it's, now that I have it in my collection and I line it up with everything else, I'm like, one of these things is not like the other. It's like the No Time to Die watch. It's really unique and different. And this would have been the one that I hung my hat on. But maybe, and I'm speculating here, I don't know, but maybe that other watch is, number one, it's got a higher revenue point. Got it. But more importantly, maybe it's something that would be a little bit more popular because it's a little bit more mainstream. This is unique. I'm telling you, this is unique. Maybe it's the reason why it's one of the last watches, Bond watches, that I'm getting, that I own. And it was one of the last in the roundup because it is so unique. I wasn't sure, is that going to be off the reservation? Is that going to be very unique and different? But boy, am I glad that I have it now. Now, there is no doubt in my mind that I'm going to be wearing this watch with a lot of different things. I'm pairing it with a cashmere and silk NPL zip top. It's not from a particular movie. I just happen to like it. It's softer than soft. But you could see that this is against a dark, almost midnight navy blue, and you could see how that blue just really connects. I was a little nervous about the 38.5 case size, but it's beautiful. I mean, truly, take a look at that. That fits and looks in a beautiful way. I have it a little loose. I may take it in just a little bit because I think for this size watch, I want it to not be as bracelety. Like usually I like kind of a bracelet fit of my watch. But in this case, I think what I'm going to do is have it just a smidgen tighter, maybe take out, half a link type situation here. But where I think this is really going to pop in the way I wear this is with suits, is with my Tom Ford tuxedo, which I'm going to have opportunity this year to wear tuxedos quite a bit. this is going to be my go-to watch. Typically, I would have my Spectre and the NATO, maybe a little too sporty. I hear constantly, by the way, it's an issue. I need to take medication for it. I hear Matt Spays or Bond Suit's voice in my ear going, David, it's too big of a watch, too sporty of a watch. Wear the Aqua Terra. So now I'm wearing the Aqua Terra, Matt. Get away from my window, get out of my head. I'm doing it. So this is the one I'm probably going to go to for that tuxedo. Even if I wear one of my other tuxedos, my Anthony Sinclair tuxedo, this is probably because to me, and I hate to mention the word here, but here it goes. You got to mention other watches here. To me, this is like the Rolex Explorer updated version in the Daniel Craig era. This is like the Rolex Explorer in the sense of the way it looks, the way it commands, etc. And speaking of command, we've got to give you some stats. And aren't you happy that I waited towards the end to do that? I'm really talking about the more emotional connection of the watch. Here are some stats. All right, the Seamaster Aqua Terra 150 meter, 38.5 millimeter steel on steel. This classic yet robust timepiece represents a tribute to Omega's rich maritime heritage. Indeed it does. The dramatic and easily recognizable dial design of the Omega Seamaster Aqua Terra collection recalls the wooden decks of luxury sailboats, and that's why you've got that kind of teak, that wood plank going down. This model features a blue dial decorated with the teak concept pattern and a date window at the 3 o'clock position. A scratch-resistant sapphire crystal protects this unique dial. This bezel is mounted on a 38.5 millimeter stainless steel case on the stainless steel bracelet. Its certified chronometer is powered by the Omega coaxial caliber 8500, which can be seen through the transparent case back. And by the way, this is considered pretty much a workhorse. I know this is a lot of people's favorite movements. So again, that dome scratch resistant sapphire crystal also has an anti-reflective treatment on both sides, makes it really easy to see in the water as well as in the sunshine or in even low lighting. And that 316L stainless steel that they use for the bracelet, it's corrosion resistant. It's a high luster after polishing. It's a material that's the ideal choice for watches in both daily use, but also high stress situations such as diving, adventure, and secret agency sing. So there you have it. Yeah. So you know a little bit more about the journey. And these things do have a journey. They have a story to it. Everything in my collection. The reason I showed you that illustration run in the beginning is because every piece in my collection has a story. And I love the story and the memories even more than the items itself. And maybe, just maybe with this watch, the story of being influenced by the movie, being influenced by my friends, and then ultimately meeting the gentleman who allowed me to acquire this into my collection. And that he's from the Bond community. He's a Bond fan and he's connected to my channel. All those things makes it so special, makes the story so special. But what I really can't wait to do is to create my own stories now. Like I said, today's my birthday. We're going to get some grub, maybe open a bottle of 007 champagne and start making my own stories with this watch. It's time to do that. Quack, 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 quack. Yeah, even I cringed with that. But it is. It's time to do that. Thanks for listening to my story about the acquisition of the Aqua Terra watch. It's beautiful. By the way, I keep looking at it. I would imagine someone who gets an engagement ring and looks at the shiny, the beauty of a diamond. That's what happens with us when we get our watches. And by the way, that's not a gender specific thing. Just when you look at these beautiful watches and you see what they look like and the artistry behind it in the case back, you can't help but be pulled in to the beauty of it. So I'm going to stare at my watch under these amazing lights a little bit more. I'm going to enjoy my birthday. And in the meantime, thank you so much for joining me. This has been David Zaritsky for the Bond Experience. We'll see you all real soon. Take care. Thanks for watching this episode. If you want to be up on the latest from the Bond Experience, just click on this subscribe and subscribe to our channel. You're going to get all the latest and greatest information, plus some exclusive content. And by the way, speaking of content, here's something especially for you, just because we know you. Talk to you soon.